I'm Jason Kiefer, and this is One More and I'm Out of Here. Illegal shift. This week, week 7 injuries. Did they really win the league this week? Not the least of which is Chris Godwin, who has been completely destroyed. Bad news for the Buccaneers. Jerry Jones is continuing to make an ass out of himself when he tries to justify himself with why he didn't pick up Derrick Henry. Aaron Rodgers still wants to believe in the Jets. It could still happen. Andy Dalton was in a car accident. Thank God he's all right. That's the only thing that could really bring both the real Jason and I to our knees. Other stories as appropriate. With your permission, as always, Keith, I'll go ahead and start the show.
Let's light this candle.
Let's do it.
The growing calls across the nation to defund the
Giving them business down there. That's a 15-yard penalty.
There's no foul on the play. It was not a hold. The defender was just overpowered.
Illegal shift on the kicking team. That penalty is refused. First down.
Guns up, giddy up. Failure to stop, wolf pack. And to all others, I don't know what you normally say to the One More and I'm Out of Here gang. Hello to you, One More and I'm Out of Here gang. What do you normally say to them when you start the show? I mean, I watch, but I never normally see the very beginning. I see the countdown.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here.
We don't have we don't have like a cool nickname for our followers. We should come up with that. Maybe I'll put a poll out there and figure out what we should call them.
Maybe like the new Robs or something. I don't know. Whatever I watch, though, it's like you've got your countdown, and your countdown's really long. We should probably trim down your countdown.
Okay.
What are you doing during your countdown? Because I mean, it gets me mentally focused and ready and kind of jazzed up. So like I'm still pro countdown, but like, what are you doing during that like 90 seconds that your countdown is on?
Ours is actually like 2 minutes. So yeah, it definitely could be.
You're like getting up, stretching, going to the bathroom,
or doing calisthenics. And Andrew's usually yelling at me because the countdown's so long.
If you want, I'll trim that down and send it off to you.
That'd be great.
We
would appreciate it. I'm sure some of the fans would appreciate it as well.
Yeah,
and it's a lot. It's more that I can when I edit and because I cut it out for the audio, I take it down to that 17-second mark. So. But yeah, I do like having somewhat of a countdown because that way I can double check all my settings, make sure everything's good. So,
yeah, this one's for this show is real short, and so like I don't even bother to cut it out for the audio. If you want, what I could do is I could cut yours, or I could just make it play real fast. So it's like you see 2 minutes, but it really only is going to last 10 seconds, and it just counts down really quickly. And maybe that would kind of like get everybody really excited as they're watching.
It'll end up sounding like the Benny Hill theme.
It's like you're looking at it will sound like a Benny Hill theme, yeah. But as you're watching it, it'll look like a broken time bomb.
Oh my God!
And you kind of get everybody really jazzed up. Could be exciting, guys. I'm John. I'm an actual 911 dispatcher, and that's why I'm on the show. Now, what the hell is this show? If someone's seeing this for the first time and they're wondering what it is, we're both first responders. And we're on a network called Failure to Stop. But on One More and I'm Out of Here, we're just two guys, and we just talk about sports. And you know what? Keith and I always had a dream to be sports commentators. But you know what? We don't have the pedigree. We don't have the knowledge. We don't do the research because we're saving your lives all the time. I'm a 911 dispatcher, Kiefer here. He's a lieutenant at a firefighter company somewhere in Ohio. So if you're living in Ohio, there's every chance that he is someday going to like tear off the roof of your car with the jaws of life and pull you to safety. You might be in a ditch or falling off a bridge. You might be stuck in traffic. I don't know. You might do it on either occasion. But
Keith, the reason that the road shut down and you're late for work.
It could be very well. It could just be that he's parking his fire engine sideways so no one can drive through on the interstate. He could do that legally without any repercussions. The situation that would land you in jail just wins him accolades from the public and a reward of a new Dalmatian puppy. So how are you? How have you been this past week, Gabe?
Good. We very, very interesting NFL Sunday. Actually, NFL week, total, but enjoyed it. Bengals won. we're slowly turning the corner, hopefully. But yeah.
Do you have as much hope as Aaron? Do you have as much hope as Aaron Rodgers has?
I think we're going to talk about that, aren't we?
Okay, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking, as always. I'm going to tell you that last night was a bit of a hard night for me. And
I can't wait.
this is going to be a painful disclosure to you, Keith, because you are a fireman. And I know what this show kind of gives off the vibe that firemen are relaxed and laid back and good friends. But the truth is that you're all very judgmental and that you all laugh about me behind my back. All of you. So last night, I wait until 8 p.m. I'm hungry. I never cook at work. I'm bringing like beef jerky, almonds, something like that, something I can microwave. It's because I don't want to be away from the phones very long. The emergencies won't wait for me. I remember one time I was making paninis and this girl flipped over her Tahoe and I'm just like, my paninis are burning, Anyway, she survived and my paninis didn't, just in case you wanted to know how that story turned out.
I need to know how that one ended too.
Well, yeah. We were talking about how expensive roast beef could be before the show. Anyway, real tragedy. So I'm there and it's about 8:15 actually. It's late. The sun has set where I am. And I decided I'm going to cook some food. And for lunch, I kind of splurged a little bit. I got these hamburger patties from the store. And I soaked them in soy sauce, which I don't know if you've ever done that, but it makes them delicious. I know what you're saying, John. You picked up hamburgers because you're tired of eating processed foods and foods like beef jerky and almonds, which are just packed with sodium. So you decided to get fresh meat and put sodium in it. So I'm like, I'm not learning.
Salt packet.
I'm not learning my lesson in so many ways. So I decided to cook these things. Well, we've got a full kitchen. We've got a brand new stove. And we've only got small little pans. So I'm going to cook one hamburger in each little pan. And everything's going fine. I cook the hamburgers in 2 little small pans. And I get even a nice little sear on them because I get the pans pretty hot. I think maybe you know where the story's going. Well, the hamburgers are done. I get them off, get them on the plates. I'm going to let them rest so they continue to cook. But I don't want to be gone from those phones too long because I just know some 16-year-old girl is about to hit a deer. It's about to happen. Or a full-grown man. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything against 16-year-old girls. But I would know it'll be like that previous situation, right? So I take one pan off and I clean it and we're good. And the second pan, I take that off. And it must have been kind of hot still. Because when I want it under the water, a whole bunch of steam comes off. Some of it's smoke, probably. I don't know. But a lot of it's steam. And it goes up in a big billow. And I'm just like, I'm going to pay for this.
I'm going to pay for this.
I'm going to pay for this. So sure enough, I'm cooking. The lights flashing. It's the most warningest sound ever. And I'm like, so I call to my cookers. God damn it. It's just me. I'm making a hamburger. It's fine. The phones start ringing. It's the alarm company. We're calling on 5-Star Diamond Select on a recorded line to let you know that your life is in danger. We're getting a fire alarm from the courthouse. And then my coworkers are like, no, it's just my idiot coworker. And one of them even calls out to me, hey, John, you want to talk to the alarm company? Because they're mad that the phone... And I'm just like, no. And then the phone rings, and it's security up at the desk. It is 8 p.m. The courthouse is closed. And my brand new coworker, we're training her. She's like, Adam 82 is such a jerk. And I'm just like, I'm trying to think of who Adam 82 is. And I remember, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's that guy that hates me. Well, that's good. One more reason.
This is working out famously.
One more reason it's not going to work out for old John. And apparently Adam 82 is still here because the county commission is still in session at 8 o'clock at night. So all of my bosses, the public, everybody are still in the courthouse. The alarm. And then because Keith, this is the part that's just going to kill you because you're like, I know better, you simpering dolt. I kept hitting reset on the panel. What you have to do is you have to turn a key and hit acknowledge. to
Correct.
disable the alarm. If you hit reset, you're just starting it all over again.
It's a fucking nightmare that you can't get out of. You
5
are
times
correct.
goes off.
Holy shit.
Because, of course, the detector keeps detecting the steam or whatever's in the air. There's enough smoke that it keeps going off. And I'm like, well, should I prop the door open? Like, I'm not allowed to prop the door open to 911 for the love of God. It's controlled access, you know? And then what will that do? That'll set off the alarm in the corridor, you know? And so I said, just text my boss. Sorry in advance.
Sorry in advance.
So he thinks that I've brought the agency to its knees by refusing to send an ambulance to an Eagles fan again or something. One of these things that I've done multiple times that has landed us like getting sued. Or, you know, just the governor crashed a car or something and I didn't do a good job or something. You know, he thinks it's something terrible. Or he thinks I set off the fire alarm and the sprinklers go off and destroy millions of dollars of equipment. And again, now we don't have the money to restart up a 911. So let's just board up this room. Let's just rent it out for Sturdivant's or auto parts store could just store auto parts here.
Bunch of spare tires.
That's what we'll be doing. He'll come in tomorrow and it's just spare tires for the auto parts store across the street. Fuck me. Fuck me. And so it's like, what kind of 911 dispatcher I am where I'm setting off fire alarms. I can't take care of a situation. I can't turn off the fire alarms. One of my coworkers is a volunteer fireman and he's just watching me just with utter delight as I am sweating and swearing. And at one point, I'm running around and I hit console or something and I scream out loud and the trainee's just like, oh, it just gets better and better for you, doesn't it? And I'm just like,
and what was the response to that?
I didn't say anything. I literally can't talk shit because things are going so badly for me.
You vapor lock. You're like,
I didn't vapor lock. I just kept running back and forth and hitting reset, which was doing me no good. And so finally we get the thing, and then the county maintenance supervisor's calling because his phone's probably blowing up. Oh, I forgot to mention the local town police officer comes into the comm center, and he comes in and he's just like wide-eyed. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? He goes, I'm just coming to make sure you guys aren't burning to death. I'm like, who notified you? I don't want to be saved by you. I'd rather die than be saved by you. But instead of saying that out loud, I just said, we're just making hamburgers. Do you want one? And then I think you better not fucking say yes because I only have 2.
I only have 2 and I'm hungry.
And I don't have buns. So I'm not going to explain to this guy really, neither one of us needs carbs. So I'll just give you 1 hamburger.
Oh
anyway, so he saunters off, he leaves, and the sheriff's deputy running security upstairs who hates me calls, and my boss, the county commission, who decides how much I get paid or if I work there tomorrow.
Whether I should show up.
And here's the worst part, just for some context. I have done this before.
Oh, John, come on.
What's your advice as my friend? And you've already had a good laugh at my expense, but what should I do? Should I just not cook ever again? Should I just never take the risk? Or should I just download, should I look up the model number of the enunciator printer on the wall and become a master technician at it? And, just disable it before I even cook, or what?
Take a picture of it, send it to me, and I'll teach you how to work it. But maybe not get the pan so hot.
But how do you get a sear on a hamburger?
You don't need a goddamn sear on a hamburger while you're at work. If you're at home grilling, yes, I get it. But you're at work. You're trying to just shovel food into your face.
Right. This doesn't feel like loving correction. It feels like I'm being yelled at, which I just might as well get used to today. So
you're shoveling food into your face hole to get back to the console. Or you tell your coworker, hey, you gotta handle the phones. Sorry, I'm gonna eat.
Well,
that way you can take your time.
They handled it. Well, the thing is everything was going fine. It was all going up under the fume hood. The thing is, I just took the pan out just a little early. And then anyway, all right, let's move on from my embarrassment. Hope everyone, maybe if you didn't enjoy the story, maybe you just at least learned something that don't set off the fire alarm at work, particularly if you're in emergency services. Not a good look for you.
I think it's hilarious. I feel like I should come out there and do a fire safety talk.
You should be like, hey, I'm a firefighter in Ohio, and like I keep getting notifications about this building. I'm sorry it took me 2 weeks to get here, but I came to make sure everything's okay. And then just like everyone looks like, God damn it, you have a fireman coming from Ohio because of you.
That's how big a deal it is.
Like it's like spread to some sort of international firefighters union that you're just so well known with them now. All right, folks. Failure to Stop's brought to you by GhostBed. We want you to go to GhostBed, use the offer code WOLFPACK when you visit that site. You'll find great technology for sleeping, adjustable frames, wonderful, comfortable mattresses, cooling pillows, everything that you need that's going to help you enjoy the 8 hours that you're not awake. Let's face it, gang. Being awake, unending horrors, unending pain. It's a cringy time. You know why? Because you're awake. And you're in a world in which I'm in this world with you, and terrible and embarrassing things are happening the other 16 hours a day. You might as well invest in good 8 hours. Not only that, but like if you're like me and you're a first responder, you're probably dealing with some pretty stressful situations, not the least of which is burning down your own workplace. So you might as well just invest in yourself, get good night's sleep. You can get that at GhostBed. They've been friends of the podcast since its inception. You can get possibly sometimes up to 40% over there, which is a pretty good deal. You could try out your mattress, not for 99 nights, not for 100 nights, but for 101 nights. And you know what? If you don't like it, you can send it back to them with no hard feelings. They'll be confused because they'll be like, we have literally invented the world's best mattress for you, and it wasn't good enough for you. They'll think that you're some kind of really uptight, really picky person, possibly British royalty type personality. I don't know what they're going to think. It's going to confuse them because they're just good people making good mattresses. Folks, it's called GhostBed because it's made from all sustainable, naturally harvested, organic ghost technology. That's right. They take the real world equivalent of ghost busting technology. They capture ghosts. They safely contain them, turn them into some sort of protoplasm, and then they turn that into a polymer and it's weaved into a bed. I don't know. All I know is that the souls of the past are crying out in pain because they're a bed now, and you need to buy that, particularly before Halloween. Also, the show is brought to you by White's Boots Incorporated. White's Boots is an American shoemaking company that's based out of Spokane, Washington, that specializes in making handcrafted leatherwork boots. The company produces handcrafted shoes in the United States using American-sourced leather and materials. White's originally began before the American Civil War as a family business that crafted boots for loggers in Virginia. In 1902, the company relocated to Idaho and then settled in Spokane 13 years later. They make boots for loggers, construction workers, and wildland firefighters. The boots have become especially popular among those firefighters.
Holy
and
shit.
It's smoke jumpers use these boots. So go to whitesboots.com. Remember the little S in there. It's not white boots, but White's Boots. And just because they have been bought out by a Tokyo-based retailer doesn't mean they're anything less than an American company. So our thanks to White's Boots for being the exclusive sponsor of this episode.
Holy shit.
Seemed like a legit ad, huh?
Well, I'm on their website. Holy cow. Go buy White's Boots, but you're gonna have to hit the lottery before you do.
Oh, is it expensive?
Oh wow, yeah, like $600-700 expensive.
Well, yeah, but you want a good pair of boots. You don't want to be the one like wildland jumper firefighter that spent $99 on Bates Brand's boots. And then, like, as soon as you land, they completely fall apart.
Yeah, I'll take my chances.
I was a correctional officer, and I would buy the cheap boots. Waste. They would not last any amount of time. They would wear down funny. They hurt my feet.
I'm all about spending good money on footwear, but I'm not spending that type of money on footwear.
Yeah, but what if your agency went 50-50 with you?
Well, they don't right now. So
what if they did? This is a hypothetical. They don't actually even support the show. It's all hypothetical.
I know it's all question marks.
It's all question marks. Okay.
Maybe I would do it, but I don't like how they look. So now I'm just being bougie about it. So
well, I mean, you're allowed to.
I love how you just come up with different sponsors. Though it's awesome. I never know what's coming next.
I just hope that I hope that I mention them and then they send me a check. That cultural museum from last week has said nothing to me, so I don't know. Hit miss strategy, hoping White's Boots, at least something germane, you know.
It was enough to get me to look at their website. So.
There you go. I at least
gotta-
drove. Yeah, I'm like,
gotta
hey, I
click.
got one guy to look at your website, so send me a check.
They got to click.
He thinks your boots are too expensive and won't buy, but send me a check. All right, folks. Week 7 injuries. It's like a Ken Burns Civil War documentary out there. Lots of bad things. Lots of bad things have happened this week. This from Yahoo Sports, the pinnacle of sports reporting. NFL Week 7 was hit hard by injuries. Here are the biggest names and how it can impact the trade deadline. 49ers might want to think twice about being aggressive in acquiring a wide receiver, but the Bucs, they could be in business. This is all about whether or not you can make certain trades or concessions and you can actually get something out of it. Let me give you an example of something not to do. Let's suppose you're like 2-4, 2-3, and you've got an aging quarterback who's probably not going to be here next year, and you fire your head coach to appease that quarterback. And then you make a trade that gets you this wide receiver who will also not be a big deal, thus completely mortgaging your draft capital for the future, making sure that your team has nothing to look forward to for the next 5 to 6 years. That's not something you want to do. However, if you are like the Detroit Lions, yeah, it was a hypothetical situation. If you're like the Detroit Lions this year and you just need, you want to make a deal with, say, the Las Vegas Raiders to pick up Max Crosby or something, where you can take an injured piece like Aiden Hutchinson, swap it out, kind of go all in to make that trade happen. You can win the Super Bowl this year because the Detroit Lions are probably the best team in the NFC. I'm predicting it now, Keith. Are you ready for this? I'm predicting now. The Detroit Lions, who have never appeared in the Super Bowl, this year is the year that they will lose the Super Bowl.
They will not only appear, they will lose it.
Will not only appear, but they will also lose the Super Bowl to the Chiefs.
On October 23rd at 12:23 Eastern Time, it has been stated.
It's been stated. So, yeah, I actually think they could beat the Chiefs this year. I think that's possible. They might be the best team. That just goes to show you how like weird America is now. Like last night I was working out and like it occurred to me, I'm like, yeah, the Lions are probably the best team in the league. And I'm just like, my entire life, I didn't think that I would ever say those
words would never come out of your mouth.
And what really bothers me is like sometimes I try to rationalize. I'm like, well, everybody gets a turn. I'm just like, well, does that mean I already had 5 turns and I don't get any more turns before I die? You know, like, is that what that means? Like Dallas just done having turns, and then I'm like, no, you're being silly. But then I'm just like, yeah, but the Saints have won a Super Bowl since they have. And Tampa Bay has won the Super Bowl twice since they have. And the Bears have been back to the Super Bowl since they have. And the Seahawks have won a Super Bowl since they have. And the Panthers have at least gone to the Super Bowl since they have. All these terrible teams all racking up Super Bowl wins while Dallas simply exists. Anyway, week 7 was brutal. Brutal week for injuries in the NFL, putting a few teams at the crossroads as the November 5 trade deadline rapidly approaches. There are a few playoff teams, hopefuls, that have been crushed by injuries up to this point in the season, putting them in a position where they may have to be active in the trade market. There are a handful of notable players to catch the injury bug this week. They're making it sound like it's something you can track. Giving the league a chance to look forward to potential movement. We kind of like these things because they're fun to talk about, and not just because, like, you just bought this jersey and now it's worthless. Here are a few high-profile players that were injured this week and where it leaves their team. This guy left the field to booze. Deshaun Watson going down in the season with a torn Achilles. You got to remember he came to Ohio kind of hot, not only in terms of his play in Houston, but also hot like in terms of the devastating deal that was made to acquire him. One of the most devastating deals of all time.
And also the controversy.
And also the controversy of him doing Robert Kraft stuff without the benefit of being Robert Kraft.
Did you see it? Did you see it happen? Or videos of it happening?
No, go ahead and give us the color commentary before I read on.
Oh, dude, it was gross. Because playing the Bengals, he goes, he scrambles back. He goes to, he plants his foot, his toes are down and he's kind of lunging forward, and you literally can see a ripple up his calf. You literally see it just bust. His Achilles just bust.
It's like a bungee cord coming off the hook back there.
It was so disgusting to see it in real time, and you're like, oh, yep, he's done. And he was able to take like maybe 2.5 steps, and then all of a sudden he was on the ground.
Do you think he's done for good?
No, just this season. I mean, they'll fix it. I mean, it happens all the time, but
Yeah, but I mean, is he contracted to play with Cleveland next year?
oh yeah,
Oh man, so they're not getting out of the situation.
nope.
Paying all kinds of money, gave up their future certainly for Deshaun Watson.
The first guaranteed contract. Now you're seeing them all the time, but $230 million guaranteed.
Yeah, and he's bringing just nothing to Cleveland.
So the funny thing is like all the memes start hitting, and like you said, he left to booze because the Cleveland fans are just over him. But all the memes that came out, they're like, well, he knows somebody that can rub it down for him, so it's fine.
Oh man, what does that imply?
Well, the fact that he
All right,
he likes to frequent rub and tucks.
you know the thing is,
4 years,
The thing-
4-year deal. When he
yes, the thing is that I just want to remind you of Robert Kraft. He's not the only one that does these terrible things. He's just the one that has to be held to account for it. Like if you're Robert Kraft, somehow misdemeanor charges of soliciting prostitution just get dismissed. But for him, it sticks for whatever reason. It's just I want to know the difference. I want to know why people hate Deshaun Watson for that.
Well, I think it's because
and I'm not
just
even
has
sure. Has
performed.
it like? Did he even get convicted of that?
No, he's just.
I mean,
he's
are we
just
for
settled,
sure that it happened?
he settled a shit ton of lawsuits, but either way,
So just like Ben
the
Roethlisberger,
fan base is upset with that, but they're also upset in the fact that he hasn't performed. They spent all this money, and he's been a shit quarterback. He was hurt. When he first got there, he barely played.
Yeah.
Plays this year. He had the suspension, and then tweaked something, and then this year he's been complete garbage, and they're tired. It's also Cleveland, which I mean they call it the mistake on the lake for a reason. So it's just a terrible town.
I've heard as much. So bad news for Cleveland fans, but they're not somebody that should go all out to do anything with Deshaun Watson. They just need to eat that situation until it's over because nobody's going to, I mean, now that he's injured, no one's going to want to do anything with Deshaun, which would almost have to be part of some kind of deal. Like what they did with, what was that guy named? Brock Osweiler. Do you remember when the Browns traded for him? And it was all contractual. They ended up trading him away. They just ate part of the cost of Brock Osweiler so that the NFL could get rid of Brock Osweiler. It was like a league effort. Like, okay, guys, we've all got to pay this guy to go away. Everybody.
I don't even think he got a uniform.
No, this was all off season. They traded for him. They said, we'll take care of, we'll in order to make this deal happen with Denver, they took off the financial obligations, and then they swallowed some of that in order to make some deal happen, I think with Los Angeles or something. And it was all like, so what was this trade about, and why did that happen if they never wanted Brock Osweiler to suit up for them? And it was all just deal brokering. It was all just horse trading, and so they're going to have to deal something like that with Deshaun Watson, but they don't have any hopes for this season. So
now Cleveland has Jameis Winston as Deshaun's backup, and they just picked up Bailey Zappi from Kansas City, who I thought was a decent quarterback in New England. I mean, for being a career backup for the most part, not bad, but yeah, their season shot.
I think they'll be better off with Jameis. I'm still happy with him over last year, how he ended last year, just deciding to go for it when he was told not to, and then scoring a touchdown when he was told not to.
Right.
Anyway, there's a very real chance the Browns offense gets better from not having him in the starting lineup. If the Browns weren't 1-6 and currently last in the AFC North, aren't at 1-6, wouldn't they be last in the AFC as well?
Most likely.
It would make a lot of sense for them to trade for a quarterback. They signed Zappi, as you said. Jameis Winston. They've already started offloading pieces with Amari Cooper trading to the Bills. That's them just the Browns being for sale. Buccaneers might be a team that actually makes sense to trade at wide receiver. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. This is like the dynamic duo down there in Tampa Bay.
Well, the Patriots are 1-6 as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of we'll have to look at
Titans are 1-5.
We'll have to look at point differential or something.
Right. Yeah.
I always forget the Titans exist. Sorry to Tennessee fans. They're out there. Anyway, Chris Godwin, who's having a career year, is going to be out the rest of the season dealing with dislocated ankle. We'll talk about that in a minute. Mike Evans is also going to undergo assessments and treatment for a hamstring injury that could put him out for some time. I want to go on the record now to take full responsibility for this. I, as a Cowboys fan, visited Raymond James Stadium this year. I brought with me a certain amount of negative energy, bad juju. And I went on the little pirate ship. And I'm sure that's what did it. I'm sure that's what sank their season. It's not my fault. When I try to go to these places and I try to be a pilgrim among NFL sanctuaries, I just try to learn about the league, see the places where other things are going on. And whenever I go to these places, inevitably terrible things happen. I'm also responsible for Aaron Rodgers' Achilles injuries because I went to the Packers Stadium. So sorry, I went there, and I try to visit the Viking Stadium as often as possible. I was in Minneapolis the other day, and I didn't get to go over there. I was at Excel Energy Center, so look out, Minnesota Wild. Something bad is going to happen to you because I was just there. So anyway, that could put the Buccaneers in a bad spot as they are battling with the Falcons for control of the NFC South. They're actually playing the Falcons this week, so that's going to be a big contest. I think this is kind of where the Falcons are going to take the lead. Rookie Jalen McMillan will be relied upon, but they're going to need more firepower to survive the middle portion of the season with mediocre talent. I don't know if that was a stab at Baker Mayfield or what. Maybe it could make sense to get a guy like DeAndre Hopkins or Cooper Kupp to land here, depending on how aggressive Tampa Bay is being. 4-3, there's no reason to give up on this season and fully handicap yourself. Being aggressive would only help them. I think they should make a big blockbuster deal, particularly since considering Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. They've both been around for a while. And if you have to make a big deal to get a longer-term replacement, somebody that can play 2, 3, 4 years there, it's probably just a good deal at a good time to get it done. I would say go for it. And
I know Godwin's been in 8 years. I can't remember how many. I think Evans is that or more. So yeah, I mean
they've both been around a long time. Yeah, it's just too bad that they were injured at the same time.
Well, I literally just saw you're not getting DeAndre Hopkins because he just got traded to the Chiefs. Literally,
Jaden Daniels left the Redskins blowout win over the hapless Panthers early with a rib injury that may cause him to miss a little bit of time. I'm not sure about that. It's sad for Jaden Daniels. He's in Rookie of the Year air right now. The Redskins should be set at quarterback for now. Backup Marcus Mariota, who once played for the Titans, a team in the NFL, diced up the Panthers during his action.
I forgot he was still around.
He's still around, which should quiet the need for exploring reinforcements. Playing Carolina undoubtedly helped Mariota lead the Redskins to 40 points, but executing the job as expected as a backup quarterback, Mariota and the Redskins should feel fine as long as Daniels isn't out for too long. Here's the big one. Here's the one that just, I admit, makes me a little happy. Brandon Ayuk.
I knew it would.
Not only because of the very tense and nail-biting off-season situation, Brandon Ayuk, watch, will he get traded? But in a season like this where I have no joy, the only thing which impels me forward, the only thing that gets me out of bed on a Sunday, and some Sundays I do not get up. That Lions game that day, I did not get up. It was 3 p.m. before I was out of bed. Not joking. I didn't even watch the Ravens game. Makes no sense. The only thing that gets me to go forward is seeing the people I hate do poorly. And I hate the 49ers. And I don't want injury to happen to specific people. Brandon Ayuk never did anything to me. That being said, he is a millionaire and he's fine. And nothing bad can even really happen to a guy that's that wealthy compared to me. Like if I break my ankle or something or tear my ACL and I can't go to work, my medical benefits pay like 40% of what I'm worth. And I don't have Affleck, so I just sleep instead of eat, and then just try to heal, and I can't pay for pain medication or anything. So
if you were to hypothetically break 5 ribs,
if I hypothetically if I was trying to be a fireman of a lake and I was jumping off a boat or something, and I tried to jump through a dock or something, can't imagine how painful that was. Anyway, Brandon Ayuk is out for the rest of the season and damaging his prospects for being traded in the future after tearing his ACL and MCL against the Chiefs on Sunday in the Super Bowl rematch, causing the 49ers to lose another ace playmaker from their offense. 49ers were somewhat prepared for this scenario by spending a first-round draft pick on Florida wide receiver Ricky Pearsall. Yet Pearsall just made his first appearance in the NFL game this past week after recovering from a gunshot wound. He got shot after the draft, folks.
He's like, quit being a bitch. I got shot in the chest.
This is how bad it is for the 49ers. Their draft choices are getting shot. Brandon Ayuk, who wants to leave anyway, he's getting hurt before he could get out of the building. Deebo Samuel recovers from a bout of pneumonia. Like, that guy literally had like a disease that most people haven't had since the 1800s. Okay, pneumonia is a little bit more common than that. It's safe to say that the 49ers' depth at wide receiver is a bit thin. And they're exposing Brock Purdy as maybe being something less than an excellent player, which I think is fine. There aren't too many wide receiver trade markets out there that would be worth the asking price. Plus, the Rams trading Cooper Kupp in the division seems unlikely. If I'm the Rams, I'm never giving Cooper Kupp to the 49ers, ever.
Yeah, that would be a stupid move.
No, it's one thing to trade away Kupp, which I think would be a mistake anyway, but just to give him to your division rival and then end up playing him twice this season, it's just shooting you in the foot.
Yep.
They might have to take it on the chin. DK Metcalf is considered week to week with an MCL sprain, but if there's any team that doesn't need to trade for a wide receiver talent, it's Seattle. Tyler Lockett and Jackson Smith-Njigba. So glad that I said that right.
You did well.
Thank you. Along with quarterback Geno Smith, who, by the way, I've always liked Geno Smith. One time, Geno Smith got his jaw broken in the locker room.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You should look into Geno Smith. He's had a very long and interesting NFL career. And I'm glad that he's having luck in Seattle. They're enough to keep this offense afloat while Metcalf recovers. No need to trade for wide receiver. If anything, they need a linebacker. So, but let's talk a little bit more about Chris Godwin's injury. Apparently, it was so bad that doctors still have not been able to locate that ankle. Very, very bad situation.
It was foul.
It was pretty foul. This is coming from Kiefer. He sent it to me. He literally sent a photo of him throwing up. I don't know why he held out the phone. Selfie, as he's saying. But here's the thing too: is that Kiefer, and I don't want to shortchange you on your credentials, but you're a paramedic, right?
That is correct.
You're an advanced paramedic.
That's just paramedic.
Okay, is there a paramedic more advanced than you?
Hold the same certification, but there are definitely better medics than me. Yes.
No, I didn't mean like how good or bad are you. That scares me because you're in the back of an ambulance. You're like, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not the best paramedic, and then you like take
card carrying member.
You take out a hypodermic or something. I'm like, oh man, this is such a B situation.
I didn't know where you were going with that.
Would you take care of me if I was in your ambulance?
Yes.
What if I didn't need medical care?
I would give you all the ketamine that you need.
Thanks. That's not what I meant. Thank you for being my dope dealer. I appreciate it.
That's right.
No, but there are paramedic levels that are less than you, right? I mean,
correct.
There's basic.
It goes EMT basic, EMT intermediate, EMT advanced, and then EMT paramedic.
Okay, so you are at the pinnacle of what you do. So what I'm getting at is that Kiefer here is at the pinnacle of what he does. Good for him. And he's saying that this injury is gross. Kiefer has seen things, right? Like he's seen a guy's face sliced off in an industrial face slicers, arms severed at the shoulders, people turned inside out. He's seen all of these things. And for him to say that it's gross, you have to take him at his word that this injury definitely is gross. One time I was working in the prison and I saw an inmate dislocate his ankle, and it was it made me want to throw up. Like his ankle was like it came down to the end of his leg, and then it was moved all the way up onto the side, and it's like his foot off.
Yeah. And
the other inmates grabbed him and firemen. Well, it was not a fireman carry, but they grabbed him by his arms and carried him out of there. I'm just I'm pretty sure these inmates hate him, but they just saw something so horrible that even they want to be helpful.
They're like, "Oh, we got to help him we got to do something."
Well, the inmates literally did carry him inside to health services. Us officers didn't do it; it was the inmates that helped carry him.
So I can see injuries after the fact. I can see something displaced and not where it's supposed to be, but watching it happen, in real time or in video, like it's gross. I mean, but I can show up on a scene and be fine. Be like, okay, we got to do this. I have my certain things that I hate this word, but I'm going to use it just because it just makes the point. But like trigger me, like things that I don't like. Like I don't like dealing with eyes, like eyeballs. I was going to tell you, look at Jill's comment because that was funny because we were just talking about that. But
Jill, right before the show, I was compared to Eeyore, and I don't know why. I'm in a good mood. I'm happy today.
And I did not text her that at all.
Burr says they want Steelers versus Detroit in the Super Bowl. The Steelers aren't going to the Super Bowl. The Steelers are only going to win their division because the Bengals can't get it up. Just letting you know right now.
No, we're on the way up. You just shut your mouth.
You're on your way up, guys. The Bengals are coming back. Hide your daughters. Anyway, this is from Columbia Broadcasting. Chris Godwin injury tackle that led to Buccaneers wide receiver dislocating his ankle is also being reviewed for hip drop violation. We remember.
I actually thought it was worse than a dislocation, to be honest with you, when I first saw it. So, I mean, he's still out.
What's medically worse than a dislocation?
I mean, I literally thought that his tibia and fibula were both broken. The way.
So what would you call that fracture? Like compound spiral superfracture?
Could be. I think you just made one up.
Term for it?
I think you just made one up, but that could be.
Okay.
Spiral fracture is a thing. Compound is a thing where the bone's sticking out of the skin, though.
Oh, okay.
But his foot was this way where it should have been this way, and I thought that whole shin was broke. But I'm glad it's just a dislocation. That's good.
Oh my God! It says here he's being fitted for a peg. He has really bad insurance
and an eye patch,
which will just help him fit in.
Yeah, I'm a Buccaneer.
Yeah, except when he's trying to run his routes, like he just runs into like a guy and
he runs in circles.
He can't tell when he's in bounds and out of bounds at all. He's just like running in and out of bounds, like he has to like turn his head all the way to the side, see where he's at. Why can't you put me on the other side of the field? I only have one goddamn eye. Anyway,
I'd have to watch the play again because I saw that in that article that they're the potential hip drop, and we had a big episode on the rule change with the hip drop tackle. I'd have to go back and look at it.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost their game on Monday night against the Baltimore Ravens, but they suffered an even more devastating loss in the form of star wide receiver Chris Godwin's dislocated ankle late in the game. With the team in a desperation comeback mode, Godwin reeled in a 21-yard catch from Baker Mayfield, and when brought to the ground, suffered an injury that was so gruesome that ESPN refused to show the replay. Now, the hit that brought him down is being reviewed by the league. Apparently, they went into a big office and each of them brought a little vomit bag. Potential hip drop tackle. That's right. We're just going to punish it after the fact. Never mind that the refs didn't call anything. It's fine. CBS Sports NFL insider, which means he just works for the NFL, Jonathan Jones confirms the hip drop was banned this past offseason after several players, including two, but not limited to, Tony Pollard and Mark Andrews, sustained serious injuries as a result of being hip drop tackled over the last few years. Football should not involve injuries. It should never happen, Jonathan Jones said. It's not reasonable to expect men who are all 300 pounds and doing drugs, running at each other as fast as possible over and over and over again, should ever be injured. Joe Mixon was also injured earlier this season on a play he said should have been flagged as a hip drop. The new rule banning it prescribed that it is a foul if a player uses the following technique to bring a runner to the ground: grabs the runner with both hands or wraps the runner with both arms and unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lowering his body, landing on or trapping the runner's leg at or below the knee. The penalty will consider it unnecessary roughness, which will be 15 yards and an automatic first down. Well, what good does it do to call this as a hip drop tackle now that the game's over? You're going to give that first down and 15 yards back to the Buccaneers?
Yeah, I mean, it does nothing. I mean, it's something we've talked about.
If the refs don't, if
the
they're
refs
not
aren't held accountable,
calling it, there's no reason to review this play. What are you going to do? You're going to find the guy later. He's out there. It's almost like a police officer using force in a situation that's just happening, right? Someone just comes around the corner. They're a zombie, like maybe it's Halloween, but maybe they are a member of the undead. You don't have time. You just have to blow them away to protect humanity, right?
Right.
Turns out that there was just a kid in a Halloween costume. Turns out you were in Hot Topic the entire time. Well, that's totality of the circumstances. But anyway, but my point is if I may actually go back to reality for a second, is that these players, they're just playing, they're just running, they're not thinking, they're just saying, I have to stop this guy. If you're a corner, you're a safety, whatever you are, you're a linebacker, you have to stop this guy from advancing the ball. And you're just going to lunge at him and grab onto him by any means necessary. And that might mean that you're wrapping yourself around him and dragging him down in the manner as described as this. And it sucks because we're tired of seeing defenses being completely neutered in this league that's all about having high scores and, lots of offense and almost no defense at all, completely destroying what football used to be. Whatever, I won't get on that jag today. I'll do that on my own podcast. But if you're not throwing the flag, then why are you reviewing it later? So that you can find somebody for something that they didn't do intentionally?
Yeah, I mean, and again, we've talked about it. The refs are not held to account. The players are. The players get fined. The coaches get fined. Why aren't the refs getting fined? And that's the age-old question of, in your line of work and in my line of work, we have QA standards, quality assurance, critiques that we go through, and, you check the box here and there, and you got, if you're, within this percentage, you're good. If you're not, then you have remedial training or whatever it is, right? Well, why aren't these referees getting critiqued after the fact? Like they're calling this now, some people are calling it a potential hip drop. Why isn't every game being reviewed after it's done? How many calls did he miss? Did that line judge miss? Did the back judge miss? And you're keeping tabs, and you start finding these sons of bitches. And guess what? I think you'll get a more fair called game.
You have to do something like that because there's financial incentive for them to do certain things in a game. There's already people talking about how much the refs have influence over the game. We had a game last week or the week before where there was just tons of flags being thrown. I think it was the Jets Bills game. We've had controversial games before where play calls come in the last second, wrong time, particularly when the Chiefs seem to be playing. And
I'll be a homer. It happens with the Bengals too. Now, granted, we make some dumb decisions, but there's been some flags at critical moments at the end of the game that change it. And it's not just my team. I mean, there's other teams. It happens all the time.
So the only way to disincentivize them from doing that is for them to have some sort of stake. And that is like fining them or whatever. And if there's some kind of process of quality assurance, there's some kind of feedback, negative feedback, corrective action, it needs to be transparent. We as fans need to know. And I'm not saying like you need to dox the guy. We know the names of the refs on the crew, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. But just to say like, hey, this guy blew it. It's no big deal.
No,
we know stats. We know stats for everyone. We know stats for players and stuff. Why can't we know statistics for a referee? Like, hey, tonight's referee, just so you know, he's had 2 marks on him for making bad calls or whatever. And that way you just know. That way the NFL says like, hey, our referees aren't perfect, and here's the proof. It's not like we won't accept him or whatever, but we need to know like who it is that we're dealing with. They just want all these we want all these interchangeable faceless people. That's why I'm convinced they wear the stripes or whatever, like zebras. You can't make out individual zebras. So if you're a lion, you can't drag away one specific one from the herd. Same thing, same psychology going on. You want them all just be faceless and interchangeable, and it's because you want them to be impartial, and you want it to seem like it's not a person doing that. But I would like to be able to look up statistics on my referees and know like, hey, what's their record for getting things right? Because if we're going to sit down and review calls anyway, where we've got NFL bigwigs going in and reviewing calls and reviewing what players have done, then we should review how often our referees are getting it right, and that information should just be made public, if for nothing else, for betting reasons, right? Like, how is it going to affect betting if you just know who the referees are and you have statistics on how good or bad that they are? And you might as well do that for fairness reasons, because the NFL is officially in beds with sports books. If they didn't have official relationships with FanDuel and other companies, I would say then like, get out of here, kid. What are you talking about? Don't do that. But if you're embracing the fact that gambling exists, you should at least be more transparent and open about it. I think I'll probably get off of that jag. But anyway, Ravens linebacker Roquan Smith, who tackled Godwin on the play, was not flagged for unnecessary roughness, nor were the Ravens penalized 15 yards. If the league review finds that a hip drop tackle, though, Smith will be subject to a league-imposed fine. The league said last week that they had reviewed 22 potential hip drop tackles through week 6 and issued 7 fines per the NFL media, but that none of that plays none of the plays had met the 4 criteria flagged during the game. Let me ask you this. You're a defensive player, defensive back, linebacker, whatever it is you are. What's more damaging? Paying a fine or stopping a play? Because as long as the flag's not going to get thrown anyway and you're not giving up those 15 yards, I as a player would rather pay that fine and be known as a defensive back that could stop those plays from happening and be a defensive player that's not drawing flags, because you're shooting yourself in the foot whenever you draw a flag with pass interference or whatever illegal contact. But if you can do one of these tackles and you can stop someone from advancing the ball, forcing him to settle for a field goal at the end of the drive or whatever, then you're a good defensive player. And your reputation as a defensive player is going to carry you farther in your career than losing out on that money, right? Like your fines, that's just the cost of doing business. It's like saying, well, this is me paying my employees, or this is the overhead for the space in which I do it. I might as well just pay
it's a business expense.
It's a business expense. You could almost write it off, at your income tax. It's like, well, I did have to stop this player from advancing the ball, and I get fined for it. But it's like, if they're not even going to throw the flag, then what's to prevent anyone from doing this? So, and with that logic being sound, if they're not throwing the flag and all they're doing is fining people, what's the game? What are we doing here? It's not about money, because the NFL fining these players isn't getting more money to the NFL that's so cash strapped or anything. It's not like they need this. It's not like these fines being imposed are really hurting these players' bottom line. So what the hell is it about? Because it's not going to influence these players who are in that moment where they have to decide when and how to leap forward on how to grab somebody. I honestly don't think so.
Why is it fair to go after the fact if the referee that you're paying, granted they're all part-time in quotes, you're paying a referee who didn't call it, but you're going to go back after the fact and over critique your referees. These are your people that the NFL is putting out there. Go fuck yourself. No. That player shouldn't be fined if a flag wasn't thrown, period. You can't go in after the fact and say, well, we saw it after. Well, you didn't see it then. And granted, I get replay and real time is different. But the game ends when the game ends. When the clock goes to zeros, just like our countdown, the game ends.
Well, the refs have the ability to stop the clock and look at it. So
yes, they have the tools in game to be able to do this.
I think the refs they should be made professional, to be honest with you. And
yes,
they are professional, but they shouldn't be their side gig anymore. They should be spending all of their time perfecting their craft. This shouldn't be like a hobby. Yes. And again, I think I've said this before, but it's like this change should have been made when you made official partnerships with gambling. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't want the reputation of being WWE wrestling, you have to have because now money's on it, right? So now you have to be beyond beyond reproach. And the best way to do that is by having the best of the best referees. They have scandals and cheap little problems every year with the referees that they constantly have to deal with. A way to deal with that would just be saying, well, now that we're officially in with gambling and money is on these games, we're going to show that we're handling everything to the best of our ability. And that's by having professional referees who work all season long, who are studying the rule changes, working with different crews, reviewing footage all the time.
That's a great, it's a great statement. Perfecting the craft and training with the people that you're going to be working with.
I don't know why we're the only show talking about this. Makes no sense to me, to be honest with you. Jerry Jones.
Because we're the smartest men alive.
Well, we're the smartest men who are on YouTube on this channel right now. That's for sure.
Right this second.
I don't know. I feel like I'm smarter than other people, but that could just be a personality disorder. I don't know.
Are you going to play the audio clip
from what?
that's in this article, this Jerry Jones article that you're getting ready to hit?
I will if you want me to.
I think you should. I think it puts it into perspective, but
I
you do
will
what you
try.
want. You do what you want.
I'll try.
I'm here for you, John.
It's good to know that that audio clip was there because I just had read it. I reviewed this at work, so I wasn't like looking for audio.
It's a Twitter. It's a Twitter.
I'll try it. I don't know how it'll work. We'll see how it goes. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, still frustrating me, but he justifies not pursuing Derrick Henry in the offseason. Derrick Henry was released by the Titans. He was a free agent. Lots of people were talking about where he was going. Dallas, desperately in need of a running back. Ezekiel Elliott, who had already been put out to pasture. Tony Pollard ended up not being able to secure a deal that was financially doable. Jerry Jones claimed he wouldn't be able to afford Derrick Henry at one point. I think this season is showing that we couldn't afford not to. But Derrick Henry mentions that he would have loved to play for Dallas, and the phone didn't even ring. Jerry Jones didn't even call him. So now here we are after all this blowback of Jerry Jones being an absolute animal, handling things terribly, getting me to take the helmet down off of the shelf over here. He says, I don't know if Derrick Henry would be having that career year in our situation. And what does that mean? Is he delusional about how good Derrick Henry is? Leading the Ravens to be one of the top teams in the AFC. Of course, you got Lamar Jackson's the other half of that equation, of course, with the running back, with the wide receiving core there. It's all part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But Derrick Henry, if you hand him the ball, he might just be able to run through a gap. I don't know if we can make that gap with this offensive line. Maybe that's what he's saying. Maybe our O-line has such difficult problems, Derrick Henry would have nowhere to run, which is him admitting that, like, hey, we've got personnel problems, which would be his deal since he's the general manager. So that would be a way of him admitting that he has poorly handled something. Or he's saying, like, our coaches, when Mike McCarthy didn't even know you could still run the ball. I'm just kidding. He obviously knows he can do that because he's having CeeDee Lamb run the ball from the backfield in 2nd and 20 situations. So
And not Zeke Elliott.
And not Ezekiel Elliott, who they brought back. They defrosted him. He was literally in a deep freeze in New England. The ice wasn't just to help with his injuries. But anyway, the Dallas Cowboys are a team with myriad problems. Again, if you're a journalist, you have got to start every article with a simple sentence that evokes mystery, intrigue, draws attention. We all know the Cowboys have myriad problems. They've had myriad problems for a while. Running the ball is principally among them. The Cowboys rank last in the NFL. Dead last. 77.2 rushing yards per game. An anchor on the offense that was projected to be explosive with Dak Prescott throwing the ball to all-pro receiver CeeDee Lamb, who both got paid big time.
Mm-hmm.
I predicted that CeeDee Lamb would start dropping the ball after he got paid. Dollar signs in his eyes. Anyway, instead, the Cowboys boast the league's 20th ranked scoring unit, 21 points per game, and most recently lost for the 3rd time in 3 home games. An embarrassing 47-9 defeat to the Detroit Lions. It's added up to an increasingly agitated Jerry Jones. The Cowboys owner makes his regular media rounds. This would be a good time to shut the hell up, Jerry. Honestly, if you're embarrassed and if you're defensive and if you're going out there and doing stupid things like threatening people's jobs, like, it's a good time to just sit out the next few plays. Let Steven go out there and talk, if it's so important to talk. On Tuesday, Jones addressed the Cowboys running game on his weekly radio show appearance 105.3 The Fan. I wonder if he apologized to those guys. The hosts of 105.3 The Fan were very magnanimous towards Jerry. They're like, we're successful because of Jerry Jones. We like having Jerry here. No one's going to push us around, though. So anyway, he did so fresh off another showcase Monday night of the Baltimore Ravens offense featuring running back Derrick Henry, who was a free agent in the offseason. Jones explained on Tuesday why he doesn't believe that Henry would be a difference maker for the Cowboys this season. Is this the part you want me to play?
It was just that Twitter.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to have Jerry here in his own words explain what the hell is going on and why. I'm going to try. Hopefully it'll work. Sometimes it doesn't work.
That's all right. If it does work.
We've, in my mind, We're not playing very good football right now at all. And it's beyond whether or not we have Derrick Henry or not. Derrick Henry is having a career year. I don't know if he'd be having that career year in our situation. And that's really something you really do have to look at, because if he had not had as many carries as our running backs have had, then he certainly probably wouldn't have attained the level of impact he's having. And then he's a real good complement to the type of offense they run. We don't run that type of offense at all.
How about you change it?
Our situation is more about, frankly, it's more about holding your blocks. It's more about not making mistakes. It's more about, in my mind, the receivers running through a tough man-to-man coverage and running on through it. And, if you will, get away from that. The types of things that we all think we should be looking at is, well, we're designing bad plays, or we're designing bad concepts. The facts are that there's some of that, but there's also some of execution. There's some of the talent. I like our talent. I really do like our talent. I like our young talent, but young talent has a few more mistakes associated with it than if you are dealing with a veteran player. Although you've got to have young talent, as I've said. Derrick Henry didn't fit because principally of managing the cap, in anticipation of the players that we were going to sign weeks later, or anticipation of the players we're going to be signing in the future.
So that old rambling thing. Here's the thing that's going wrong with Jerry Jones, if I may, and this is ballsy of me to presume that I know more about football than Jerry. You're talking about how Derrick Henry would not be having the amazing season that he's having now with the Ravens, with the Cowboys, because he doesn't fit into the scheme or whatever, or you've got blocking problems or whatever. Okay, so he just came up with all these reasons why he's justified himself for not signing Derrick Henry. And he's saying
changing fucking schemes, John. You change the schemes.
I'm getting to it. Slow burn.
Slow burn.
So here we go. Because I'm holding the back. I'm about to swing it. So things wouldn't be going as well for Derrick Henry with the Dallas Cowboys. Do you realize that things would still be going better for the Dallas Cowboys?
All right, perfect.
Okay, so Derrick Henry might not, in our scheme, he might not be leading the league in rushing yards or wherever he's at. His statistics wouldn't be as good. Well, boo-hoo, sad for Derrick Henry. We'd still not be dead last in rushing yards if we had this incredible running back on the team.
God, I was hoping you were going to hit that.
He's all like, I would hate to do wrong by Derrick Henry by bringing him here. We would just be bringing Derrick Henry down. We're so bad, we would be hurting Derrick Henry. And good for Derrick Henry. Want him to have a good season. But Jerry's saying, like, he wouldn't be enjoying his good career here. We wouldn't be able to throw blocks for him. We wouldn't be able to open seams. Our schemes are stupid. Our other players are bad. But I love our other players, by the way. Just, I love the players.
And the ones in the future that I don't even have yet.
And the ones I don't even have yet. But does he not realize that, like, okay, so Derrick Henry's performing at a high level at the Ravens because everything else is going really well for the Ravens. That's great for Derrick Henry. Everything's going shitty for the Cowboys. If you put Derrick Henry out of the situation of the Ravens, yeah, his stats will go down, but everything will get better for Dallas.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And you don't have to give a fuck about Derrick Henry. All you have to care about is the Cowboys. That's why you still should have signed him. And as far as you saying that, like, you have to manage the gap or the salary cap and all this, you invented the salary cap. Blame yourself.
Blame yourself.
It's on you. And I would have rather had you sign Derrick Henry than to completely cave to Dak Prescott when every possibility that if you look at what San Francisco's doing. Why don't you copy their model, right? They've got Brock Purdy. This guy kind of came out of nowhere. May not even be one of the most talented players, but he's being given a lot of credit, and it's because of Christian McCaffrey, right? That team went to the Super Bowl because they had Christian McCaffrey. Imagine you trade away Dak Prescott, you're able to get some capital, and you bring in some middling guy, Baker Mayfield or better, maybe somewhere around there. I don't know. Kirk Cousins. Who knows? Kirk Cousins is about to take the Falcons to win the division. What if you had Derrick Henry and Kirk Cousins playing for the Cowboys right now? How would that team look? It's possible they could have made that deal happen.
Yeah.
It's just possible. I mean, I'm not one of these guys that has all like the players out on a board and a piece of yarn connecting all of them, but they could have made that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't make that happen. They could have had Kirk Cousins, who's doing well for the Falcons. They could have had Derrick Henry, who's doing well for the Ravens. And what would have happened if you'd brought that in and you said goodbye to Dak Prescott and you gotten over your own ego? The thing is, as I said last week, and I'll double down on this, is that what stops Jerry Jones from doing that is, first of all, if he ever reverses course, if he ever like made a bigger change, like letting go of Dak Prescott, it says something. It says I was wrong, which he can never do. He can never admit to being wrong. Case in point, he just went on to say all the reasons why it was right for him not to bring in a great running back, but he can never admit to being wrong, so he can never reverse course. And he also said last week when I was reading that article, he says, when you make a decision, you don't know if it's right or wrong at the time that you make it, which I don't even know what to say about that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like from a philosophical point of view, it's true. And yeah, sometimes like situations don't work out for the best. But if you're a general manager, you can't have the idea of like, I don't really know if a decision's good or bad at the time that I make it. It's all, you make it seem like it's a roll of the dice, in which case, why don't we just have a numbers machine, a computer generating our choices for player personnel, Jerry?
So
if it's all random, we could have
Jerry. Here's the thing with Jerry and where you and I can align football wise in the fact that Jerry Jones is just like the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals, Mike Brown. Not nearly. Mike Brown's not, and our team's not worth nearly as much. We don't have as much money to play with, but same thing. He would make decisions that he knew were probably not going to pan out, but it worked money-wise and just did it anyway, but would never accept responsibility for it. Now, we're in a little bit different situation where he's kind of relinquished some of that control to, his daughter and son-in-law and, other people are managing things. But for the longest time, our period in the 90s where it was just the Bengals were a dead zone, it was Mike Brown making all the decisions because he would not hire a general manager. He was managing shit. Jerry Jones is the exact same way and will never say that he's wrong. So I sympathize with you in that, my friend.
Lastly, as I said last week, he cannot stomach the idea that anyone would leave his circle, leave his team, and then they would go on to have success. He's very jealous.
Right.
If Dak Prescott went on and he was, playing for the Jets or something next year, and they are able to come in second place in the AFC East, he would be jealous of that. He would not be happy for Dak Prescott to have success elsewhere. And I can't remember the last time he let a quarterback that was doing anything well go. Like he never let Tony Romo go, which I guess I'm grateful for as a Romo fan. Before that, the last quarterback that he fired was Quincy Carter, and it was because he illegally obtained some of Quincy Carter's pee and found drugs in it and just proactively got rid of him because he knew the league was going to do it anyway. Before that, I mean, it was Aikman, which takes you all the way back to the beginning. So as long as they've had any quarterback that was reasonable in their productivity, he's never changed course away from them. And then, so that's how you know that he's going to play Dak out as starting quarterback until Dak's wheels fall off.
Right.
Will be, either barring injury will be another, now the quarterbacks are playing longer, 5, 6, 7, couple games. I don't know. Well, if they can't fix O-line problems and he keeps getting thrown around like Aaron Rodgers, then yeah, he'll be hurt there. But my point is that he'll never move on from him. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers still believes in the Jets in 2-5. Quote, the power of belief has a snowball that can start an avalanche. Jets are going to fly higher than A-Rod and ayahuasca. I threw that one on there just for you.
I like it.
I had to look up how to spell that. That wasn't easy for me.
Yeah, it's not an easy word.
So the Jets are like a complete failure mode. It's like they're designed to fail. It's like they put popcorn inside a car engine. It's pretty much the situation right now. Oh my God! Like they what they had to do to get Aaron Rodgers, and then they fired their head coach, and then they go out and get Devante Adams. And I watched the first pass, and Devante Adams dropped it, and it was an easy slant, 8 yards to the outside. Just like, oh my God, this really isn't going to work out, is it? It
He ended
really.
that game with what, 30 yards?
Yeah,
I think.
it was
Something like
sad.
that.
It was sad. And you know what? I actually felt sad too, because I'm watching Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson like 10 years ago. Like this would have been like premier football, right?
Yes.
Just sad. I mean, I left the game before the Steelers racked up 37 points or whatever it was, but I'm just like, I'm watching Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. These kind of like, it makes me sad that just these Titans of 10 years ago are kind of, and I don't mean like Tennessee Titans, but that they're just kind of worn out, and that they're hanging around maybe a season too long. I am mad that the Steelers are doing so well. You have to credit Coach Mike Tomlin entirely for this, because there's no reason why things should be going this well for them. Why are they at the top of the division? Or I mean, I guess the Ravens are at top of the division, but if they do well at all, it's only because of like some sort of fate or circumstance, because they shouldn't be doing nearly as well as they are. And I can't wait for reality to really play out. It's kind of like how the Vikings finally lost, as I predicted they would, signaling the beginning of the end of this year for the Vikings. Same thing for the Steelers. Can't wait for that. But anyway, back to Aaron Rodgers. During his tougher stretches in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers helped kickstart Packers runs with sound bites like RELAX, relax, or publicly expressing his team could run the table. With the Jets facing a similar struggle, his first healthy year as a starter, mired in a 4-game losing streak to bring the record to 2-5, Rodgers' newest battle cry involves sounding an avalanche warning. We've been in this spot before, Rodgers said Tuesday during the weekly appearance on the Pat McAfee show. We, meaning myself and some of my guys who I've played with, the Green Bay Packers, who are all here now in New Jersey. There's the semi-famous relaxed statement that was after 3 weeks going into week 4 when we turned it around. Also, when we went 4-6 in 2016, we weren't playing well at all and went through a rough stretch and just kind of got waxed at Tennessee and came back home and ran the table. Won 8 straight weight and went to the NFC Championship, eventually losing to Atlanta. But that was fun stretch.
The fact you're bringing shit up from 2016.
That was so long ago.
2024, motherfucker. You're not the same dude that you were. You're not on the same team. You don't have the same head coach. You don't even have a head coach, technically.
You don't have Matt LaFleur. You don't have Mike McCarthy even. You have nobody. I mean,
and it sucks because I like Aaron Rodgers. I do like him just because he doesn't give a shit. But when he says stupid shit like this, dude, stop.
Right,
stop.
right. But what is he supposed to say? Is he supposed to say like, gambled it all and lost? We got Devante Adams here last week, and we lost.
Do you see the Devante Adams meme where it says last game with the Raiders, lost to the Steelers, gets traded, first game with the Jets, loses to the Steelers. Fucking played him 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks, 2 times in 3 weeks and loses both times. And it's just a picture of him like this.
Well, I mean, you have to hand it to the Steelers. They know how to beat Devante Adams. So
yes.
They're just like, oh, we just did this, like last week or the week before. We know what to do.
Do the same thing we did before.
Same guy. They weren't tricked or anything. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll see if the Jets even manage to do anything. It's not just that they have to start winning. They also have to. We're almost at the point now with this many losses where you have to count on the Bills to start losing. And the Bills are hot right now. The Bills are doing okay. I'm not sure it's reasonable to expect the Bills to get down to an 11-5 situation at this point. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Lots of things can happen with them signing Amari Cooper. They're kind of on the uptick. And so it's not enough for you to just win. You also we're getting to the point where you have to hope bad stuff happens to Buffalo, which I'm not hoping for. But that's what Aaron Rodgers is saying. And I think this is going to be the time where Aaron Rodgers finally goes out there and says he can run the table and everyone needs to relax. And I think it's not going to pay off. And I think the season's going to end with Aaron Rodgers having to face the truth that he's just not what he used to be, which is there's no shame or anything. You're 41 and you can't run and scramble like you used to, and you're playing for the New York Jets. Like you didn't replicate what Tom Brady did in Tampa Bay. It wasn't the same situation. You didn't get Chris Evans and Godfrey or Chris Godfrey and Mike Evans or whatever. You didn't get those guys.
The Jets have no identity, and the Jets haven't had an identity for the longest time.
They're just the Green Giants.
Yes. They're occupying space in New York.
Yes, they technically help the NFL have a even schedule so that not every team has to have a bye week every week. It's the purpose of the Jets.
Oh, we're gonna have some things to talk about here coming up, apparently, with the Goodell's statements about making another week, and more. There's going to be more to come on it, but more international games, Super Bowl potentially going.
If they ever played the Super Bowl on foreign soil, I will fucking.
I'm done.
Angry.
I am
How do
done.
you take the Super Bowl to another country?
I'm done.
How could you give that much money, interest, and intrigue and everything else to a foreign country? You're the National Football League. I get. Is it stupid to actually expect some level of national identity for the National Football League, some level of patriotism? I don't care if Montreal gets an NFL team. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if we have a team in Canada. I don't care if we have a team in Mexico City. I don't even necessarily care if we have a team in London. But the NFL, the Super Bowl is not getting played at Wembley.
No.
We'll
see. Because I mean, that's in the works. I sent you an article, but there's going to be plenty more. But that's going to be a big topic.
God damn it! All right, Andy Dalton, the man that we both love for some reason, was in a car crash, which is really bad news for the Panthers because he's like, oh, they got. What are they going to do? They got Bryce Young. Panthers quarterback Andy Dalton and his family were involved in a car crash. No one required an emergency medical transport. Quarterback Andy Dalton was involved in a car crash on Tuesday. Dalton was in a vehicle with his wife, 3 children, and their dog, and no one required transportation from emergency medical personnel. They added that Dalton is currently being evaluated by the team's medical personnel. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler. He started the past 5 games for the Panthers after replacing Bryce Young in Week 3. He's thrown for 989 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, dropping his last 4 games after winning the first with a 319-yard, 3-touchdown performance. Following a 40-7 loss to the Redskins, head coach Dave Canales said Sunday that Carolina Panthers plan to continue with Dalton as their starter. Panthers have nothing to play for, but they don't in general. But I don't want anything bad to happen to the Red Rifle. He played that one season in Dallas, did fine for us, looked good. Would not have minded having him in his prime in Dallas. I mean, those were the Tony Romo years, so it's not like I would have traded or anything. But I mean, I've always liked him. I like him as a person. I think he's a good guy.
we had Andy in his prime and we ruined him.
You also had Carson Palmer, who went on to Arizona, one of the worst teams in the league, and then took them to the NFC Championship.
Turned it around.
So sometimes, but those are the old Bengals. It doesn't mean you can't do great things now. It just means you're having a run of bad luck. We're running a little bit long, as we usually do, but let's get into the picks this week because they came in so late. I do not have a fun graphic. I just have literal screenshots of our text message.
I like that, though.
I know. It's actually so delightfully low-key. So Keith's on the left. He's got the Bengals winning over the Eagles, and I have the Eagles winning over the Bengals. That's a huge. That's one of the main differences. He thinks that the Bengals are going to take down my arch rivals, the Eagles. I hope for our sake that he's right. I just think the Eagles are probably going to pull it off. And then, ironically, he believes that the Cowboys are somehow going to go out there and beat the 49ers, and I believe otherwise. So, other than that, our records are the same all time since Week 4. I'm leading him by just a few percentage points. I believe it all boils down to one game. But if you're wondering where we are currently at through 4 weeks of predicting football, Kiefer is at a 0.612, and I'm at a 0.661. So I'm just barely edging him out. At this point, like I said, it's one game. We're neck and neck. Last week, I took some risks. I chose 4 games that were different than his picks. And this week, we're only choosing 2. So you're not going to see a major shift in who's leading, but at some point, we're going to have to start being more strategic, Kiefer, where we're taking bigger and bigger risks in order to win. And I encourage you to start taking those risks as I continue to play it safe. So
it's still early, and I cannot wait until December 9th.
Yes, December 9th. Friendship will end. Can you believe that game's going to be on Monday Night Football? You bet they're regretting that now, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, shit, they could flex it and move a different
Flex it.
game.
Well, and I almost wish they would, because that will be a big middle finger to Jerry Jones. Like,
Well, they just flexed this week's game, the Bengals and Eagles, because it was supposed to be a late game, and they moved it because we weren't winning. Now we, they
yeah. If you look at last season or the season before, and just the general expectations for Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrows, that's a marquee game. But yeah, it just hasn't worked out. So
right.
We'll see. Bengals Cowboys could be moved to December 8th, Sunday at noon. So, in which case, I'll be free for that. So,
if that happens, then we'll live stream.
I won't be able to watch it, but I'll sit here on Yahoo as the score updates. It'll be like, ooh, and that'll be it. That'll be the landmark moment in the history of broadcasting. When's your next episode of One More and I'm Out of Here?
We are going Friday at 5 Eastern.
Friday at 5. Do you know what it's about yet?
Obviously, we got a whole lot of election stuff going on, so we're gonna hit that. But then anything between now and then that is hot button.
Okay. All right. Well, to everyone who's out there in the Wolfpack, we appreciate you members watching us today live. Tyler is
Thank
here.
you.
He's a good supporter of mine. Michael Hendricks is here. He's not the biggest sports guy, but he's a big John and Jason guy. He's like watching us. That's what I think the show, that's what I think the real appeal is, right? We're talking about sports, but it's like, you don't have to know anything about sports to enjoy this show. You have to enjoy me to a lesser extent, Kiever, whatever. Always a good time. Thanks to Jill, always for being here whenever she is here. I didn't realize that Jill has a real life. Marine's Blood also here. Dead Leg here. It's nice to see him dropping in. He had a compound spiral fracture with all kinds of issues, so he was expressing some sympathy for Chris Godwin. Will Cray was here. Still hopeful for the Vikings. And Will, if nothing else, you should enjoy this year. You should enjoy regular season success. I want you to enjoy your life.
Did you hear that Sam Darnold's banging the Haktua girl? Did you see that?
What a one more and I'm out of here thing to say.
Well, I saw the article.
I'm sorry, I hadn't heard that. I don't know who knows who's banging whom.
It just came out. I just saw it. I was like, wow.
Go ahead and read the article. I mean, it's your show.
I don't have it in front of me. I just saw it the other day.
Well, if you want, I can do a little jig or something where you pull it up and.
No, we're good.
All right. We'll just end the show then. Thanks to everybody who was joining us. Our thanks to Ghostbed and thanks to White's Boots for existing. Go get a pair of White's Boots.
Spend a paycheck on White's Boots.
Go spend a whole paycheck on it. All right, guys. We'll catch you back here next week. Thanks for paying attention to us. Wish me luck on my picks this week, and then somehow not Keith, even though we have 2 games different. Anyway. All right. Guns up. Giddy up. We'll catch you next time. Eric will be here on Friday, I believe, with a new show, hopefully. Keith, we'll see you on Friday as well. Good luck to you guys. Good luck to you both.
Hey, John, I love you, buddy.
I love you too. I see you're watching McAfee on there.
Yeah.
Turn it up.
I'm doing research.
Doing research. Why
we need a studio like this.
Yeah. All right, guys. Guns up, giddy up. We'll finally end the podcast. Goodbye, everyone. We love you. Bye, Keith. I love you.
Love you, buddy.